Good Tuesday evening. It is June 13th, 2023, and what is happening with the markets here at precisealgorithmtrading.com. So we have, well, I actually pulled this chart up just because I was in a conversation with somebody about airlines, and this is kind of like um, the story of the market lately. And I just want everybody to look at these indicators, and I don't have the bottom one totally vetted yet, but the true Momo indicator in the middle is, I mean, it's turning out to be, I've been working on it a long time. It's a combination of ideas, and just to give everybody kind of, I think it's pretty simple to understand, but this is the middle line here at 0, and this is oversold, and way up here in the red zone is overbought, and it's a lot like a squeeze. It's not the squeeze, but it is uh, based on momentum. So we have these arrows that, if you literally look at how the arrows work, and this is just the random Delta Airlines stock that's up here, there's a buy signal over here where my arrow is on the daily chart, and there's one next to it, and then there's a yellow signal, and there's a green signal after that, and there's no red signals along the way. If you look up here, there are red signals, but you don't have to pay attention to any red signals that show up as long as this uh, as long as the true Momo is going up and it's green. And then when it falls the other way, we got a nice red arrow and it's red, so that would be a time to get out. Would that trade have made money? No. It would have almost broke even, but so what? Look at this one over here. As soon as we get a buy signal on the bottom, which I think there's a yellow signal and a green signal on the same day, then boom, we're off to the races. Now, it did pull back to the line into this zone, which is actually a great area. That's why I've got this EMA indicator in the middle here, so you can see when it pulls back to the line or be even below the line and then comes back up above it, with the white versus the green here, and then it just took off from there. So anyways, another point to be watching for is these dotted lines, these white lines here, are 2 standard deviations from the previous week. So when it got up into this 2 standard deviation area, I actually had a position on this delta, and I took it off the table because I was getting into 52-week highs, which is what the solid white line up here is. And I was past this 2 standard deviation move, and it's gone even beyond that. So, great. If people are still in it, that's awesome. They've made an extra 3.5% today, 3.38% today. But I'm fine with taking some profits and moving on to another stock that's actually setting up for a new ride. And there's another point to be made here, is when this thing does finally get there, it's probably going to fall, and fall hard. And tomorrow's Fed Day. Wednesday is Fed Day. They're going to, I think I saw today in something I looked up, it's at FedWatch. If you look up FedWatch, there's a 95% chance that the interest rate's going to stay the same, which means the Fed is not going to move higher. And I think they've moved higher 10 times in a row now. And now they're going to pause. So that's, we don't know till they actually make the release, but that's the story, and that's what basically they do their odds at FedWatch, and yeah, 95% is pretty good. So then the other thing I wanted to call out, like right here with this particular stock at Delta Airlines, is this RSI2 that's up in the left-hand corner and in the right-hand corner on the weekly chart over here. That's 99.99 on the RSI2. If I actually pulled up an RSI and I made the period 2, you would see that this thing is at 99.99, and it can only go to 100. So it's gone as far as it can almost. And then on the weekly, it's gone to 99.23, and it can only go to 100 as well. And I'm not saying we can't get up here to the second time to this 2 standard deviations, because we might, and it's going to be a crazy move if that happens. But you can also see down here on the True Momo on the daily that we sure look like we're in oversold territory, and like these, when these lines start to come together, it's going to roll over, and these light blue bars will turn dark blue, and the red lines will or the green lines will turn into red lines, and they'll cross to the downside. And you know, is that terrible? No, we'll probably pull back here into this purple line on the daily, or maybe a little further. And when it happens, then I mean, it's really set up for a weekly move higher. But you know, you're going to endure the pain down before it has a chance to go higher, and that's going to shake a ton of people. And we'll see if it actually continues higher from there after that. But um, yeah, let's look at this chart too, just because I mean, this is, I showed this last night. This is literally 3 average true ranges put on top of each other of closing price. And so we're well beyond the average, the third average true range. And you can see what happened back here. We got beyond the average true range, the third average true range. It pulled back to the, actually 2 underneath average true ranges lower. Then it pulled back up to the second average true range higher, and then it fell through the floor. So we get that, you know, back here as well. Way back here when we were more probably bullish, which that looks like it's been a while. I mean, the airlines have had a rough way to go since COVID. But so we got up well up here, and then we chopped sideways for a long time. Then we went way lower. So it's just interesting when you look at the things. We're well beyond the third average true range, and we're at 99 and change on the RSI2. And tomorrow's Fed day. I think they could make their announcement, and the markets could pause and get shaken. There's a saying in the market is buy the rumor, sell the news. And so this is all rumor up till now, and then the Fed's going to make their decision, and maybe they'll sell the news. Who knows? We'll see what happens when we get there. You'd think it would be a good news thing that they're going to pause interest rates, and markets are counterintuitive, so just because you think it'd be a good news thing doesn't mean it will. And I've been shown that time and time again in almost 20 years of trading. So what did the markets do today? S&P 500, the SPX. Well, the SPX went 0.69% higher. The 2 standard deviations are a little bit a ways now. That's good. That means we could still see some upward movement here. But we are 97.87 and 99.11 on the SPX on the RSI2 formula. The Dow went up 145 points. Look at it walking up that line. I drew that line. I don't even know when I drew that line. It's in the videos. You could go look it up in the archives. But it's just walking up that line. That's kind of crazy. So I think I probably drew that line after it did the breakout. And then the Russell, it's not going to give me the percentage that it's up today, I don't think. But it's up a little bit. And so if we flip over to IWM, we can see the actual percentage of, or roundabouts where the Russell 2000 shook out. Now this is probably the good news situation of all of it, is this thing has been a laggard. So we can get going still here and blow out some things to the upside. There's awful lot of people out there that are bears in the market, and a lot of them went bullish here recently. This thing rolls over, then they're going to get bearish again real fast, and then they could get their faces ripped off, and this market could come back to the upside. This thing is going to follow the path of where least the fewer people are. It's not least resistance. It's literally like if it starts to blow out through the top and there's a bunch of sell orders up there, then it's going to continue to go higher. And that's a crazy thing to say, but that's kind of how the market works. um, or if even if there's a lot of buyers up there, because then you're selling a bunch of shorts and you're adding on to the longs. And anyways, it's really a matter of where the made price action is, and it happens to be at these levels that I've got lines drawn across. And back here on the is it the SPX, I think, was the first chart I pulled up. I've got these levels actually drawn sometimes. These are zones where we've hit resistance before. These are zones where there's going to be a lot of buying and selling happening, and then we either have to break through or we fail and we roll over. And then the Nasdaq up 111 points today. That thing has been just nuts. And look at that, we got a new buy signal. Now this is a buy signal in oversold territory on the True Momo indicator. I would venture to say that one's, that's not a signal I would take. I would not take a buy signal when it's this oversold. I'd rather buy when we are pulled back to the mean or when we are pulled back to oversold. And what did oil do? Looks like oil went up 3%. It's down 0.42% at the moment overnight. And it's going to give me fits going from a stock to a futures contract. You can also see up here that for what it's worth, I shorted a little bit of oil today just to see what happens after we got this big bounce. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'm going to get out. But we got everything going in my favor as far as the indicators go. So then overnight, this is going into tomorrow. I could expect tomorrow to really not have a lot of noise until 2 o'clock when they release 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time when they release the Fed decision. And right now we have the E-minis of S&P is basically flat. The YM, which is the Dow, is down 97 points, and the Nasdaq is basically flat. The Russell is actually up 1.2, which is basically flat, but it's interesting because the small cap stocks, which is what the Russell 2000 is, have had strength lately. So that's actually bullish for markets. I've gotten into the detail of why that is before. So let's flip over here to the internals of the markets and look up bullish for bullish percent indexes. This is in stockcharts.com, and I think these things have seen a lot of stuff go on today too. So the industrials, not so much. It was flat. The NYA, which put in a point and figure buy signal yesterday, is up 3.39% today, and on a column of X's. And the transports are not on a point and figure buy signal yet. They need one more X to the upside. The Nasdaq up 2.49% today. That is still on a point and figure. That is a point and figure buy signal because the last column of X's superseded the column of X's before it to the upside. So the thing's actually been on a point and figure buy signal since January. The SPX tacked on a new green X today and up 4.95%. This one is on a point and figure sell signal because we haven't had a column of X's exceed the previous column of X's recently. We've got the O's that exceeded to the downside. The the OEX, which is the S&P 100, it tacked on a new X today, and it's up 3.51%. And the NDX flipped over, went all the way up, and hit resistance at 70. That's 7.94%, and we need to tack on one more X to get a point and figure buy signal here. And when we do that, we'll be over 70, which is considered overbought in a point and figure chart. You can see back data here into these other columns. These it's like January, February. Um, looks like we got up into the 74 range, and before that, in I think that's December of last year, we got up into the 84 range. That's and that's really overbought. So I mean, typically it gets over 70, and you start looking for it. How far can it go up, and then how far till it rolls over 70? Once it rolls over 70, that's typically a that's considered a longer term sell signal on these point and figure charts. And last but not least, was that the NDX, or did we look at, yeah, that was that. So went into detail, sorry about that. And let's flip over. This one is annoying me because we've got the new contracts on. They're YM for September, which is the U contract. That's the Dow. We actually had a couple trades today. They're nothing to write home about. This latest action has been nothing but bearish and down and sucking money out of my account. This is the Russell 2000, and no trades are generated yet. And if you look at the actual, like the 6-month chart, this is the continuous contract, or the fake contract. It did actually have a little trade that went today, but it doesn't mean anything if it's not in the actual contract. And then this is the NASDAQ. It hasn't traded yet either. And this noise up in here, this last run, it's in our account with 3 contracts, it's to the tune of, I think, $7,000. Is really irritating because it's not actually in our account. So these things happen, and it is what it is. So hate to leave it on that kind of a note. Can I be more positive? I don't know. So really, the 10-year note is a sign of inflation, and if they cut interest rates, and I heard inflation was down today, although this sure looks like it's poised to go up. So I don't have any extra good news, so I'm just going to leave you guys with that. I think maybe this thing will continue to power higher, and we can go beyond, and everybody's 401ks and stuff are going to shape up. But I'd be watching for basically the gray skies to form, and protect yourselves as well you can. So take care, guys. Good trading, and we will talk to you tomorrow and see what happens.